Good evening, everyone. Myself, Adarsh from Kerala Blockchain Academy. So it's my pleasure to welcome Robert Schwertner to deliver this amazing webinar on blockchain and the post-COVID options, like the new chances of blockchain technology for it. So let me just introduce the speaker. Robert Schwertner is a well-known speaker in the blockchain domain. Hope you all might have heard about him. He's a frequent speaker at many international blockchain conferences. He's an expert at British Parliament. He's a speaker at the TED Talks also. And yeah, he's there in multiple blockchain domains. Like he's an advisor to many blockchain startups and other initiatives. In fact, he is a CEO and founder of CryptoRobi, and he's commonly known as CryptoRobi also. And he's a CEO of InnoMagic GmbH also. So it's my pleasure to welcome CryptoRobi to this webinar. Hope you all will enjoy this session. So a couple of guidelines to the participants. Kindly mute your mic as well as the video while presentation is happening. Put the hand raise option if you want to ask some questions. Also, you can put some if you have some queries, you can put the queries in the chat option also, so that we may not be having much disturbances during the session. And please note that we are offering a certificate for all the participants at the end. So kindly make sure that you complete the feedback form at the end also, because the feedback form will be available for 10 minutes post this webinar. So if you complete the feedback also at the stipulated time, you will be awarded a certificate. So over to you, Robert. The floor is yours. You can start.
Yes, thank you very much, Adarsh. I'm very pleased to join Kerala Blockchain Academy. Can you just confirm the sound is fine? Shall I speak loud or is it fine? And loud enough?
It's fine. It's fine.
Good.
Yeah,
okay.
We can hear properly. Hope everyone can hear properly. If anyone have any issues with sound, please you can please type in chat. If you are not able to hear, you can please in chat.
Yes.
So I think it's perfect. You can carry on.
Actually, I'm very happy to be back in South India, if not in person, at least on a virtual way. I have been to India, South India especially. I know the excellent food, the lovely people, and also the technology, which is great there. Myself, I'm from Austria in Europe. I worked more than 15 years in industry. And I headed, after the industry engagement, I headed the Austrian Smart City program it's a research program. And there I came in touch with blockchain technology in 2015, where we had to decide we could use blockchain technology for energy purposes, for energy trading. So actually I entered the blockchain world through the energy window and to the energy door, and not so much to through the money door, the cryptocurrency door, which many Bitcoiners, early Bitcoiners did. So I am an engineer. Yes, in the last 3 years, I left the Austrian government and to fully work on the blockchain topic, because I felt so much in love with blockchain. I saw the value of blockchain. It is definitely the next step of the internet. And I'm sure most of you are aware what blockchain is. I will not explain in detail. Just one word. My view is that with the internet, we were able to bring information to our computers. We can transfer a video like this chat on Zoom. What we cannot, and the weakness of the internet, is the transfer of value. So the transfer of value is something the internet has not solved yet. Blockchain has that, and the Bitcoin blockchain was the first blockchain to prove that. Now, with cryptocurrencies being so famous and so en vogue, so in fashion, I also saw the technology side of it, and the application towards people. That's why I also created the Crypto branch, Crypto brand, and also an initiative called Return on Society. Because I think blockchain technology can not only be used to make some people very rich with cryptocurrency, which is one possibility to use it, but it's a weak possibility because blockchain can do so much more. And that's what I saw. And that's how I felt so much in love with this technology. And I'm still very much have the pink glasses and see the bright side of it. I see so many applications. And especially during these days of crisis, I am now in another country, in Croatia, which is in South Europe, next to Italy. And in Italy was very hard hit by the Corona crisis, which brings me to the topic. How can blockchain be used and what's the recent development of blockchain technology during the crisis and after the crisis? I will also give you an overview on the situation in Europe. And as I have a lot of business ties with Asia, especially China and South Korea and Hong Kong, I would also give you an overview on that region. But for instance, at the moment, we have a situation where the virus is a bit under control, but definitely not far from over. This will never be over. I heard that in South India, there is still the increase of the virus. I can just tell you, be careful. Watch whom you meet and be careful with contacts. Keep distance, wear masks when you're in a crowd. That's how some countries managed in Europe well. Others who closed down late have now big problems. They were affected through many, many incidents, many sick people, and also their businesses were more affected. Coming to the business side, because I'm a business developer now, for what I do is consultancy on blockchain topics to, interestingly, very small companies on the one hand side, so startups who implement a project, blockchain project, who develop usually some kind of application, a DApp, a distributed, decentralized app, or very large enterprises, so multinationals. Interestingly, almost no company in between. So the famous small and medium-sized enterprise are kind of non-existent in this sphere, because either you have a very cool developer group, usually these are nerdy young male here in Europe, which are very excellent, and also including Russia, yeah, excellent coders there. Or we have businessmen, white shirt, tie, these kind of smart businesses, established industries, very large enterprises. By the way, just to make our speech a bit more lively, you always can in the chat, if you search around and find the chat, you always can put questions forward. I will try to include in my speech also. So the industry side, what I think is we have still a long way to go with blockchain technology. All projects I mentioned at the moment and all projects I will present are at the very, very beginning. We have almost no company in Europe, no startup where, and I focus mainly on Switzerland, Germany and Austria, the German-speaking group. It's a group of countries with more than 120 million inhabitants. So this group in Switzerland is very strong. Just to give you an overview, Switzerland is very strong. It has the so-called Crypto Valley. In Crypto Valley, they are registered now 600 startups, blockchain startups, either pure developer, or they have their own protocol, or they use blockchain for a certain purpose, for real estate application, IT application, fintech application, decentralized finance, so then DeFi. And what we see with these startups, we must say that many will not survive the COVID crisis. So this will be a lot of startups already who they have no funding, they have difficulties to show how they will create revenues, and investors these days are quite critical. So startups in blockchain, often very skilled people with good ideas, in normal circumstances, they would thrive their business, but now they have difficulties. That's what I see in general. This affects not only Switzerland, but also Austria and the rest of Europe. When it comes to large enterprises, the big ones, I work with several large enterprises in retail industry. So that's trading, retail, electronic consumer goods, a large German multinational, 25 billion turnover a year. I work with a mobility company. They're focusing on road tolling, on metering in worldwide. They also road tolling is interesting because it's automated financing, your automated payment process. They also were quite stopping the blockchain activities. I worked with real estate companies where they explored in the field of building information modeling. Building information modeling is BIM. BIM is the blockchain for, it's not the blockchain, but BIM is the digital twin of buildings. And I see, even during my research time, we saw a lot of applications of BIM, building information modeling and blockchain. I see a question already. Could you say something about the potential industries and possible domains where blockchain can be used? It's a question of Ritwik, and I will come to that. So Ritwik, yes, I will mention that. I can just introduce at a moment, and you said non-financial, non-real estate. What I see at the moment is I work with automotive companies, and I will introduce a project which I try to share the screen. I hope I will manage. I see some chances on the one hand side for the automotive industry where we explored some possibilities. I would say the automotive industry is an interesting field for blockchain technology, and let me explain why. This is for a question and an example, a hands-on example. Now let me try to share the screen. Oh, I must, yeah, just a second. Let me share the screen because I have to manage that. Oh, yeah, just a second. I will show, what I will do, I will show you the, so just give me a second. Now I can breathe. You can think about questions. What I will do is I will share here a project which I like, a company which you should follow up when you are in business. You can, they're one of the best coders in Europe. What is done here is you see an example where I think blockchain goes. Just let me introduce. If I will not talk about cryptocurrencies very much, because I think that's only very on the very surface. But we have, of course, to talk about currencies and digital currencies, because if you transfer value over the internet, the value at the moment is money. Yeah, we have, of course, shares, we have bonds, other means of value, gold, but yeah. So we have to talk about industry solutions. And you see an industry solution. This is Riddle and Code, a company. I hope you can see the link, Riddle and Code. You can check yourself, mobility. Riddle and Code is one of the pearls in coding. It's an Austrian-based company with a genius CTO, and they have really excellent applications. What they did for Daimler Chrysler, you know, the car, Mercedes, yeah, Daimler Chrysler car, German car company, they together coded a car wallet. When we have a car at the moment and they are produced this year, what they did, they built a simple wallet, actually quite simple solution in the very beginning, where the car itself can pay for solutions. So there is a possibility that payment can be done via the car itself. The car is the one who pays. So the car gets an identity and can pay for parking, for road tolling, in future maybe for insurance, for instance, for refueling electricity, if it's an e-car, or petrol, for maintenance, So that's all, and we can pay the car. When we enter, we don't pay the taxi driver, which we do now. We have a person there. When we can in future pay the car. And this technology is very important when it comes to autonomous driving. It's an important brick in the wall. It's an important feature of a car. The car itself needs to have an identity when it's driving along. Just assume a taxi without a driver, whom to pay, where to pay. Of course, we could pay to a certain solution provided by Visa card, PayPal, but we also could pay the car itself. And why is this interesting? And this example is interesting because the car is, let's say, is a machine. So it's a machine-to-person payment or a machine-to-machine payment. The car wallet is important because Daimler Chrysler, if they are produced this year, 2020, they drive around on the streets in Europe and in India, of course, for the next 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years. So it's important to start early with a feature where at least you have the opportunity, possibility to pay the car. So that's why Daimler Chrysler, together with Riddler Co., started so early with that feature. And the car wallet is also important in another point of view, because now you have in the car, in a more fancy car, you have a lot of electronics, car electronics, a so-called CAN bus system. CAN bus is the electronic system of the car, the backbone of the car, where information on speed, on brakes, on fuel, on different sensors in the car, and there are hundreds of sensors, maybe thousands, are connected. And this car wallet is attached, and that's the innovation, is attached to that data. So it's not a pure like Bitcoin wallet where you put money in and money out, but it also links to certain features of the car. And when you think in a connected world where the car goes to the repair workshop, and there they connect the computer and find the mistakes, find the failures and repair the car, they can also pay the car, or the car pays for the repair. So this wallet is very important. And the car wallets is just the first example. And answering your question would bring also, that's an important example of where the direction of blockchain will go. Now, with the automotive industry, I must say, last 1 month, and now it comes post-COVID, how is the situation? The situation with COVID is that the automotive industry is one of the really suffering industries. We have in Europe, in Germany and Austria, minus 30–40% of selling of cars. First, because people don't drive around so much. Second, people don't have so much money because they are unemployed or on shorter part-time work now because of the coronavirus. They cannot move around. So the money in the pocket is smaller and the purchase of car is less possible. So this car industry is affected, but the example of the car wallet could be extended to other machines, to producing machines. Just let's assume a machine which produces plastics. Yeah. When we have machines producing plastics in a factory, often they are used. But nowadays, I speak to companies like the compound producers, and they say they have now less contracts, and their machine could be used by other companies, but nobody will know about it. So what is possible in the future is that we have kind of booking.com for machines. And when we have that booking.com, of course, we can book our a slot of a machine producing certain, delivering certain services. Like it can be a printing machine, it can be a mold machine, yeah, injection mold machine for plastic production, and so on. And when we have a machine-to-machine application, blockchain makes very much sense. Also, having seen so many different business models, also many of them failed, I have learned one experience, and that's if you don't take anything, but maybe one thing is important to know about blockchain. If you have an existing business model let's say, buying of wonderful mangoes, yeah, in Indian mangoes, very famous, very delicious. I love them. When you make an app and say, okay, we don't buy that with Indian rupees, but we have now a mango coin and we buy them, and even if they are in fair production or by environmentally friendly production, this would sound like a very nice project. But the main problem is that if we just use blockchain to replace an existing business model, we will fail, because blockchain at the moment is an expensive, slow database. Blockchain is not more than a database. That's what it is. It's a very clever database. It's a cool database, but it's also at the very beginning. So we have lots of problems to solve with this. Like the cars, the very first cars were not so fast like the horse wagons. They were slower. So the blockchain database is slower than existing databases. It has a lot of constraints. It has, some blockchains have an energy problem. This seems to be solved. The energy problem with the new so-called proof of stake is solved. So if you discuss with friends about blockchain and they say, yeah, but it uses so much energy. No, this problem is solved, but we have still a problem in terms of speed. We have, of course, the problem in terms of usability. And but still, we need blockchain technology, and we will see definitely, and I'm very convinced. So existing business models are not a good idea for blockchain. What we need is new business models. And the new business model is, like I explained, the example, an autonomous car driving around and maybe paying for the services the car needs. And also when we rent the car as a taxi, or we use the car, or we own the car, then it makes sense. On the crossroads, at the crossroads of, or at the corner of where ownership, renting something and leasing it out and owning it, there is a lot of possibility to do. Let me give you another example. In India, I drove a lot with buses, even 20 years ago, wonderful buses, sometimes very shaky buses, but bus driving is still, use of bus is very common. When you buy a bus ticket, this is a token. It's actually a token. It's a value. I can drive from, I don't know, Trivandrum to Kochi. Yeah, I can use that ticket to go from here to there. The value is I get kilometers, and that's the service the bus company gives me. If I just replace this with blockchain technology and say, okay, here is a blockchain-based solution, and that's cool, and now you can have a block, and it's proven on the blockchain that you have the ticket. As a user, I don't care. I really don't care whether it's on blockchain or not. This does not make sense because it's, as I said, an existing business model just replaced. Then blockchain doesn't make sense. Where blockchain does make sense, and that brings me back to the question again. When we have a business model where this ticket, on the one hand side, offers me the ride from one city A to one city B, but also gives me ownership, a share, like a share of the company of the bus. So it's a ticket at the same time driving from A to B. And second, it's part of the ownership. It could be that I have an interest to use this company because I own part of the company, maybe a very small part, yeah, maybe just, I don't know, a few rupees worth of the company. But still, I would have an interest then to increase the value of the bus company. I would be careful to the bus. I would not litter it because I want the bus driving company thrive and become more popular and having more revenues, because my share value of that bus will also increase of the bus company. So it's maybe a stupid example, but it's an example what we have. And because this example for bus company does not make so much sense. But for a real estate application where I own a flat, I rent out a flat, and I can provide services, could make very much sense, where we have new possibilities for ownership. So at the, what we must find, and that's still a lot of work to do. You should find these new business models, this new, we call greenfield models. Yeah, it's on the green grass, build new factories of models which did not exist so far. And there is blockchain. There is blockchain as the right solution. That's where I see a lot of chances. But at the moment, it's like talking about internet 30 years ago. Yeah, if you would talk to a vendor of garment, of shirts in the internet 30, 40 years ago, and you say, okay, in the future you will sell your clothes through the internet, he would say, oh my God, there are no computers, the internet is so slow, it doesn't work. So that's same with blockchain. If you say who has cryptocurrencies, nobody at the moment, absolutely nobody. Or next to, in Austria, it's 2% of the population. Yeah, 2% is holding, including myself, a bit, just a very little bit. It's not the majority, but we could come to a point where cryptocurrencies and the dealing with cryptocurrencies will be more popular. Just to give you another example, what I have to do is I have to see them. I'm sorry, I cannot see the chat questions now with sharing my screen, or I don't find it yet. Yeah, oh yeah, where is it? Oh yeah, here's the chat, sorry. Oh yeah, other question. Yeah, how Car Wallet will protect data integrity? Thus chances are there anyone can breach it? That was Avinash Kumar Mishra on this question. Yes, a very important question. When it comes to autonomous cars, the main concern is security. So the wallet, of course, will be secured by a special code, and it has built-in devices. Yeah, this has built-in devices which we have. Let's say at the moment when we log in somewhere, we give passwords. Yeah, we give certain passwords out. When you see the picture of the blockchain wallet, this car wallet, this system can give out passwords themselves. So they can issue private keys, and they can, this is very hard to hack. So we have machines having certain code, and that's kind of so-called Show Me a Secret application. You can look that up. It's a paper on Show Me a Secret, sharing of knowledge, and then how it's a way to share knowledge. And these car wallets are protected by Show Me a Secret. But when it comes to autonomous cars, the concern is not only the car wallet, that's one concern, but mainly the steering of the car. Because if the steering is hacked, you can imagine that these are living rockets. It can be a weapon, a car. Yeah, just imagine that. So the security concerns are very serious, are really, really strong. Yes. So but it's yeah. I will. How can blockchain be used in the education sector? What I must say, I lectured at university, in several universities in international, but also in Austria, and what I realize is that there are now applications, blockchain-based applications for education. And as I said, when the Bala Murugan question on the education sector, how can we use it in the education sector? At the moment, the system is like, okay, we built a blockchain and we have a so-called education coin. You can look that up. There are many of these education coins and you can pay for the service. But this system is like the Mango coin. You use another currency to pay for something. That does not make so much sense. Yeah, it's an existing business model. Why not paying in Indian rupees? Why not paying US dollar in European euro to pay for a certain service? For the end user, the added value of blockchain by using a cryptocurrency is weak. It's again, if it's only for paying for a service, is an existing business model. Another feature of blockchain where it comes to its strengths, it enforces its strengths, is when different players with different interests are involved. This is important, that's to remember. So blockchain makes sense, that's a very important sentence. Blockchain only makes sense if you have different players with different interests involved. Example, blockchain makes very much sense, and that's another answer to a question to where is application possible. The biggest chances I see in the supply chain management. By the way, Daimler Chrysler also offered solutions for supply chain and work on that. IBM does that, and there many players are involved. The very first example of is the supply chain is the IBM, Singapore Harbor and Rotterdam Harbor, and shipping companies are involved. Different players. You have a shipping company, you have a harbor, you have a customs office, a governmental organization, you have a ship owner, you have a delivery company, and you have customers who want to use that. And there, a lot of paperwork and pain is involved. But you can imagine when we have this 20-foot and 40-foot container, these containers are very standardized. And so on entry, it can be confirmed by someone, okay, delivery is taken. So insurance can be automated through so-called smart contracts. So in the supply chain, if you're looking for new business in blockchain technology, go for supply chain. Coming back to the education sector, the education sector is not such an first moving option, I would say. Yeah? But when it comes to scientific research, there it could be interesting, because where it could be of interest could be when you have a research project funded or a governmental project funded, or in tender procedures where you have certain steps of the project you must prove, and then you get a payment. And then also it can be linked to the intellectual property created. And this has also value. It's so-called the IPR, intellectual property, is already a value. And if you link that, and there are many projects in the intellectual property, there is even the IPR chain, and the WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, is also exploring solutions for blockchain, how to put also to prove an invention. If you have an idea, how can you prove that you had this idea? What people did in the past, they sent themselves an email. They wrote the text and sent themselves an email that they can prove, okay, I had this idea in 2005. I sent myself that email. However, an email can be hacked. The date can be still manipulated to some extent, so the proof is not strong. If you put it on blockchain, then you have a timestamp. So timestamping things and matters is very important. Also in the education sector, you can use it for, and it's the university in Switzerland and Austrian, other universities, maybe also the Kerala Blockchain Academy, using it for certificates. They are sometimes put on blockchain. It's not a big deal from the software development side, but it's good. Let me come to other questions. The quantum computer can break blockchain encryption in the future. Yes, it can, but this is like in war. You know, one side is improving the technology. Quantum computing, yes, but there are also research papers from the University of St. Petersburg I've seen, and I checked, where you have quantum hashes. And quantum hashes mean there is a blockchain type which creates the key via a quantum computer, so no problem. So with a quantum computer, you cannot break and encrypt the quantum created hashes. That's at least on theory. We have no proof in practice, but the simulation and mathematical methods prove that at the moment. The mathematical proof is there that it cannot be hacked with quantum computers. However, if the blockchain in quantum computing is not coded in a proper way, it always can be hacked. This happened in the past. Is possible analytics with data blockchain? Yes. There is already a new field of research. In Austria, we have the Austrian Blockchain Center. It's a center focusing on research. It's the ABC, Austrian Blockchain Center. I will show you Austrian Blockchain Center. and the Austrian Blockchain Center, ABC Research, and they have 5 different different streams, and you can look that up. I hope you see it on the screen now, Austrian Blockchain Center. They have 5 different key areas of research, and one is, and that comes back to the question of analytics, Bhaskar Choudhary, possible. They have data analytics because we need a proper data analysis. First, of course, very much for forensic at the moment, where is fraud, where is money laundering to detect that, but also in terms of improving the blockchain, improving the speed. And so data analytics and blockchain is a very young field, not many scientific papers available. So it would make a good master thesis or dissertation to go deep into. What I like is chain analysis. Chain analysis, there are already companies focusing on that. You see, when I go to research, you see the key areas. You see the areas. Just to give you an overview, and that's not just Austria. You have cryptography and technology and security is an area. You have cryptoeconomic modeling. That's the combination with economics, yeah, cryptoeconomics modeling. So that's token economics, token engineering. That's a new field of research. You have data science methods. That's the answer to your question. Data science methods for blockchain analytics. That's exactly what you are looking for, Bhaskar Choudhary, yes. So here you find topics on that. I will not go too much deep because maybe the others have different interests, but that's how it works. And then of course, legal and political implications, governmental blockchain. I will also want to speak a little bit about that. So how blockchain can be helpful in improving labor standards in developing countries. I must say, just Dr. Ambika Nair posed that question. Dr. Nair, I would say blockchain is a database, and let's replace blockchain or translate it the Internet of Information and translate the Internet of Value. How the Internet of Value can be helpful in improving labor standards, and then how the Internet of Information can be helpful. If you replace blockchain with Internet, so how did the Internet improve labor standards? The Internet actually, to some extent did, to some other extent it did not. What it can do, it could bring, it could reduce transaction costs. When I want to hire a researcher or a software developer in India, and I want to pay him or her, I have to use Western Union money transfer or a bank, and they charge a lot of fees. So maybe up to 10-15%, which is really too high. If I do this with Bitcoin, I pay 0.1% fee, maybe less, 0.1. So the cryptocurrencies reduce a fee and would make the labor market more transparent. So, but it's a very weak, we replace just the currency, and because the other currency, existing currency, are very inefficient with these units of trust of banks, because they still earn a lot of money to build the wonderful complexes and wonderful buildings and pay the high wages to the directors and staff of the bank. So can a non-tech guy build a career on blockchain relevant to supply chain industry? If yes, then what would be the possible roadmap? Very good question of VK Rathore, yeah. So the question is whether non-techies can build a career. Yes, you can. First of all, there is, I think, lots of room. This world needs a lot of non-techies, yeah. So we need non-techies because at the moment, in the very early beginning, blockchain technology has been dominated by coders. And the coders were very much in love with the code and the back-end side. The front end looks still terrible, and then the usability is not how it should be. So there is a lot of opportunity. And when we go back to the, if we go here back to the Austrian blockchain research center, you see cryptography is a okay IT topic, technology security, but crypto economics here, the modeling is for non-techies, is for economists, is for business people, because they know their business. You need a very important, that's very important, you need a domain know-how. How is my business working? How is the textile trading, the supply chain, the insurance business working? This you have to know in order to implement the blockchain technology. And coders don't know that. And the reason why so many startups fail is because it's driven by coders. They think they have a super application which everybody needs, but they never talk to, I don't know, a trading company, an experienced guy in the field of that business domain. So it needs a lot. The possible roadmap is, of course, that's the part of the question. If you want to do something supply chain, of course, get acquainted with the basics of blockchain technology. And the Kerala Blockchain Academy, I must here do some advertisement of this with others and all the experts there, offer courses. There's a lot of available courses in the internet, free of charge, but also against payment. And there are certificates to be issued. It's good to understand the technology. It's like, even if you're a businessman, you must calculate and know how the percentage calculation, yeah? Because if you give a discount, you must know a minimum mathematics. This blockchain is the same. You need to get acquainted with this domain. There is a question on the energy sector. How I'm an electrotechnician, I'm an energy engineer. I worked also in Asia in the energy field. And the question was there, what we can do is, how do energy sector take the advantage of blockchain, considering the fact that the energy is traditionally produced by governments? Yeah, when the energy is produced by the government, it doesn't make so much sense. In Europe and in the Western countries, we have so-called unbundling. We have the infrastructure, so the wires, the lines, the supply lines, the transformer station, they belong to the state. But the electricity traded over these lines, this is in private hands. So the trading, there is a market, it reduces the fee, and I can choose. I recently just changed my company because they were too expensive, so I choose in the free market. And then blockchain makes sense. But I agree, in countries, and most of South Asian countries, they still have the governmental control of the blockchain doesn't make so much sense because you don't have this trading. But the house wallet concept is very intelligent. We also think about the flat wallet, and there are hundreds of applications already. Others had that idea too, of course. When you use the sensor data of modern buildings and have the same application for a house wallet, it would make sense to some extent. But we need time. We need a lot of time to go. Another question would, yeah. Let me just bring back. I would just something what we have to consider, because it's a lot of all of these payments linked. I want to say some recent developments we see in Europe, but also in China. I know I have to mention that because China, we also read in the news that there was an incident with India. But when it comes to blockchain technology, we must admit that China is very advanced. It is ahead 3 years of Europe. Yeah, I must say that. I worked in China many years. I have experience, and they have excellent coders and excellent opportunities. And also the government is pushing very much for solutions. What we see is what they do is they offer solutions for a digital renminbi, digital yuan. The digital yuan is something which is already developed in the city of Suzhou and Shenzhen, and around 500,000 workers are paid partly by this currency, cryptocurrency. And when you have a system where you have cryptocurrencies so much involved in taxation, insurance, social insurance, then this will reduce a lot of transaction costs. And every company in this world is meant to reduce transaction costs. The vendor next door selling me mangoes is there, has the business because it saves me the hassle of bringing the mango myself from India every week, but he will organize that for me, and I can the mangoes just be, because we don't have mangoes in Austria, next corner. So if we have a system of money which reduces again transaction costs and reduces all this expensive infrastructure of banking system, then they will succeed. So we have 3 different kinds of of currencies, digital currencies in the future. And that's also what you could remember, because they will be in place. First, we will have a governmental legal digital currency replacing cash. That's the next development I see. And China is very much on the spearheading this development. A legal governmental cryptocurrency is also called central national bank currency, central national bank. So in Europe, we're just exploring this. We are very much behind because the European Central Bank, they don't understand the need. And also Austrian and other countries, they don't push too much. The second is the cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, like other coins. They are based on a blockchain. So the second type is a blockchain-based cryptocurrency. That's the second type. And the third type is a cryptocurrency or a digital currency based on a trusted institution. It can be a Bank of India coin, a HSBC coin, a Citibank coin, a coin by a trusted entity, which is usually a big company. It could be a Libra. What's Libra doing? Facebook is doing such a, is it trying to implement, but not very successful at the moment. It doesn't look so good. So that's the main purpose. We have here a question. I like to start a new blockchain-based social media network. Stebin Sunny asked this question. I know about maybe 15 different social media-based networks on blockchain. Yes, there is some. What I would here is an example. What I think is very interesting is the Brave. Have a look at the Brave browser. It's a blockchain-based kind of social media system. It's a browser at the moment, not pure social media, but it is. And it's one of these new business models. And I will just show you brave.com. It's just brave.com. I use this browser too sometimes. I will Google it, www.brave.com. So that's it. And this browser, it looks like Google Chrome, very much the same, but it has, oh yeah, sorry, it's in German. I would have to make it English somewhere. Does it have an English version? Brave.com. At the moment, you can look it up. There is an English version, but just to see for you. Oh yeah, there is. I don't want the German. I want the English version, please. And let's try this. Oh no. So yes, here it's English. You see? Okay, it's getting more better. The Brave browser does the following, whereas Google gets paid for the advertisement. So they bring us advertisement and companies pay Google. With the Brave browser, it's different. I, as an end user, get paid by the server because they bother me with advertisement. So if I I confirm, okay, Brave browser, you can send me, Brave company, you can send me the advertisement, but I get paid for that. So the end user gets paid for the hassle of getting advertisements. And that's a very interesting new business model. And this is the direction we go. We don't have any established social media. It would be great for TikTok, for Instagram, for maybe over the internet to use a coin to get paid when we get advertisement. Don't just pay the influencers who earn millions, yeah, the Kardashians of this world, but pay the end user, because we are the ones who suffer. We provide our data. We provide our personal data, privacy, and share that with every move we make. But we don't get anything. Just we get then attacked with advertisement. So I love the Brave browser. It's really an interesting system. What I would also like to mention is, it's linked also to the question to the work. There's any task, Anytask is a working platform, especially for Indians, very interested, who want to link with the world. Sorry, again, German. Let's make it English. It's in Espanol, where is it? English, yes. Let's make it English. Anytask. This is a blockchain platform where you can provide services internationally, and then with the Electronium wallet, you can be paid with cryptocurrency. So, and you see, enjoy 0 fees and no commission. And it's based on an Electronium wallet. I'm not fast enough to find it. And it's a weird German mixed version, but you can link it to a cryptocurrency wallet, and payment is quite easily and cheap. So that's where I see it. The general question, what's the scope of blockchain? Blockchain is a database. It has no scope itself. It's how we use it. If you, it just replaces Bandu and Thomas' question. The scope, blockchain has no scope itself. It's a tool. What's the scope of a hammer? To hammer a nail into the wall, or to kill somebody with the hammer. You can do it. It's a tool. What's the scope of blockchain? The scope of blockchain is to provide value over the internet. At the moment, and this is a very general question, at the moment we need units of trust, banks. If I transfer, Thomas, to you money, I need always to transfer to my, I need to inform my bank, to inform your bank, and then it goes via the banks, units of trust. And with blockchain, we can kind of directly send you a money email from point A, me, peer 1, to peer 2, peer Thomas, and it sends directly, like airdropping it to you. No bank in between. Yes, so just, yeah. I have some, if we talk about COVID, and that was the topic, there are some examples of the how blockchain data are working. For instance, there's a question on behavioral biometrics. There are solutions, so let me see, alternative. Yeah, there are healthcare certificates. There are solutions now, for instance, in fashion for healthcare corona certificates that I don't have corona, but as we know, the certificate can say, okay, today I don't have it, but after my conference, I go downstairs, have a coffee in a coffee house crowded with people, and I get it doesn't make so much sense, but we have healthcare certificates on blockchain. It's not, behavioral biometrics on blockchain, it's too far at the moment to say anything about that. Salima asked that question. Cryptocurrency exchange platform development roadmap. Cryptocurrency exchanges, interesting, the Bitcoin exchange rate did not suffer so much. So it kept the value more or less during the Corona crisis. So I think it's quite interesting, and it's, we will see them as they will have a role of the bank. They will maybe replace banks, to these soft banks, these internet-based banks. Just to give you an example, 2 Austrians, they created a bank, it's called N26. They have now 800 employees and they have 4 million customers. The largest Austrian bank has 22,000 employees, 22,000, yeah, and have 16. So they have 16 million customers. The problem the banks have, and that's the same with the Indian banks at the moment, too many employees, lots of services could be done by the internet. And these young, dedicated internet-based banks can provide better services, faster services, especially for the smartphone generation, yeah, for the very easy banking. And banks will die, and that's where also I see cryptocurrency exchange will maybe link with these soft banks, with these internet-based banks. I mentioned N26, that's very famous one. That's a very famous model. How can I land my first job in blockchain industry? Andrew Chaudhry, I don't know, just try, learn a lot. Try to link with startups. What I see, many international companies, they hire now staff from everywhere. So I worked with for maybe 25 different startups based in all over the world. And there are always Indian staff members for marketing purpose. They need marketing staff. They need social media staff. So it's all of the different subjects a usual company also needs have to be covered. And India has skilled labor, and they're always welcome and interested, and they have a good knowledge of English, which, for instance, in China sometimes is difficult, and also South Korea, wherever. Any use of smart contract in supply chain? Yes, of course. Kevin Kumar asked this question. Smart contracts, one sentence on that. A smart contract is neither a contract, nor is it smart, but it is a if-then command. So if-then means if event A takes place, then do event B. So if or action B. If I purchase a mango, yes, and I confirm the mango, or I confirm the 20-foot container arrived in harbor in Mumbai, yeah, it arrived there, and officer confirms that on with the mobile phone, yeah, or an app. Okay, it's here, it's proper, and the content is there. Confirm. The smart contract says if somebody, an official, confirms the arrival, then immediately, for instance, release the payment to the supplier, to the deliverer. Immediately delete the insurance claims. Immediately, so that's smart contracts. It's immediately done. Now he goes there, watches, fills in a sheet of paper, secretary puts it into the computer, email is sent, yes, we have received everything fine, and then information comes back, and then we transfer payment, transfer accountancy department, and transfer via the bank, and so on. Smart contract is the command. It's arrived, it has arrived, bang, and just release the payment. Maybe two multi-signature solution, maybe 2-3 persons must sign. By the way, Riddle & Co, this company I mentioned, they also provided such a solution. We know what email did to the tradition. Yes, a very good question. Akhil Ramchandaran asked the question. We know what email did to traditional postal service system. Can we expect similar impact blockchain making on banking and SWIFT payment? Yes. I would extend that. What we see with blockchain, and especially one of the learnings of the COVID crisis, there was this joke going around. Who did push for digitalization in the company? Was it the CTO? Was it the CIO? Or was it the CEO? No, it was Corona crisis, because it even very conservative companies bought in Austria and in Germany, bought their staff now laptops that they can work from home, that they do home offices. And we see a push towards digital services, and especially for cash payment. I cannot pay cash now via the computer, but I could pay via a cryptocurrency, or one of the 3 types I mentioned, the digital currency by a government, the cryptocurrency by a blockchain, or the currency of a trust institution. What would be the scope using blockchain as a base to create a new social media platform or a messaging service? The scope of a blockchain is always a mixed purpose. Ownership of the platform. I am part of the platform. Look up at Ethereum. When you buy one Ether, yeah, Ether, that's the coin of the Ethereum, the second largest blockchain, where a lot of smart contracts are built. You can have the service, the Ether is there, this currency is there, that you can run a smart contract on that blockchain. A certain calculation order on that blockchain, on that software, you have to pay for it. The reason is that it doesn't get spam. You have to carefully do it, because otherwise it would be too costly. The second is, with the Ether in value increasing, it's like a share. The value of that Ether is not only that you buy this service, but also you own part of that service of that company. And so we have this mixed purpose, and the same I would see with social media platforms. When you are part of that community, let's say you're an influencer, you want to offer services, you are a user, you can, I would also see that maybe we can have emojis with values, yeah, bitmojis, whatever, yeah. It exists already, but yes. I see now that I have talked 1 hour constantly asking a question. Ardash, if there are more questions, I would be happy to answer.
Robbie, you can take questions at the end. I think you can continue with the session and take other questions at the end.
Okay,
fine.
What I want to show you is also, because I mean, what I find interesting is we always look at other solutions. One is, for instance, Datarella. You remember maybe the Return on Society initiative. It's my initiative where I see, look at the value for people. Blockchains with a certain value for people. For instance, that we can have blockchains which the not so privileged people can have a solution. For instance, many people have no bank account, maybe, but they have a smartphone sometimes when they get cheaper, or somebody can provide smartphones that they can at least have an account on the phone. What I see in future is that the banking industry, and that's coming back to the question, how email replaced postal service, how the mobile phone will replace a bank. That's a mobile phone, yeah, simple mobile phone. In future, we could have a situation, and that sounds crazy at the beginning, that we have our bank account on the mobile phone. The bank account is on the phone and it's called wallet. And the iPhone has already a wallet integrated. The Samsung Galaxy phone has even a cryptocurrency wallet integrated, and it is physically separate the chip. So there is a kind of high security already included. We see solutions. When you look at the shared screen, you see Datarella. It's a German-based coding company, one of the best also in Europe, I must say. It's really a pearl. It's a software company. Look what they did. They do a lot of mobility. But what they did also for Syrian refugees, they registered 1.5 million refugees in Lebanon with their app from UNHCR, the Refugee UN organization. So they did an app to register on blockchain these refugees. What registering people has always two sides, I must say, of course. The side note is registering people is nice because somebody has an identity and can prove identity. On the other hand side, it can be abused by regimes, by dictatorship governments. So one has to be always very careful with it. But I see very, very wonderful social solutions. When we have just let me show you what may be interesting to you, because we have this this cryptocurrency. You see Chinese, yeah, sorry, that's in Chinese. But you don't have to know Chinese to get that. It takes a while to build up. Yes, the Chinese government releases a ranking of cryptocurrencies every month, and there have so far been 18 rankings. And you see that's the latest ranking of June. And it's always interesting to have a look. You know, usually we get the United States-based view or the European view on the world. But for me, it also makes sense to have at least how the Chinese see the world, because to my opinion, we can learn a lot from them, yeah? What they do is they rank, and that's the latest ranking, the 18th ranking. You see number 18 here. I hope you can see also my cursor, I'm not sure. Anyway, you can see EOS, the cryptocurrency, is ranked number 1. I supported EOS in the very beginning. I must say I find it interesting and not fully justified. Yeah, it is handled with very much care. Also, the second, it's a kind of Chinese-based blockchain Tron network. The third is the Ethereum, the second largest blockchain, which I see has still lot of prosperity and lots of good times to come. For instance, at the moment, Ethereum uses a lot of energy to close blocks, yeah, to sign blocks, but they will change to so-called proof of stake system, and that will improve this Ethereum blockchain. I think for industry applications, it could be interesting. It's somebody asked me how to start. I can just recommend to listen to Vitalik Buterin, founder of Ethereum blockchain. Yeah, he's a very clever, very smart, young Canadian with Russian origin. Super smart, absolutely cool guy, and really fun to hear. Very funny also. Really can recommend that. I love that. Actually, IOST is really recently established. IOST is a super high speed blockchain. They try to solve the speed issue. Never forget, this is an official ranking of the Chinese government. So this has geopolitics. And of course, they favor but in terms of technology, some are really good. What I like very much is Neo. It's a Neo blockchain. It's one of the first good blockchains. It's a Chinese-based blockchain, but it has an interesting consensus mechanism different from what we usually know. But you see only the Bitcoin itself is scored only number 12. So the cryptocurrencies and Dash cryptocurrency are very down. So the application cryptocurrencies where industry is built on, they rank very high. And the reason is that China focus very much on the industry side and don't want to pressure or put out of the market the cryptocurrencies. That's an impression what I see. But still interesting is when you look further down, you have still some cryptocurrency like Jota, a German blockchain, which is actually not a blockchain, by the way. This brings me to technology. Not all blockchains are blockchains. So blockchains are usually, you have a data block and then miners or somebody verifies the block and it is closed. It's like an Excel sheet, you have an Excel sheet, yeah, and they have many tables. So you close one table and start the next table. And then you say, okay, it's fine. You sign the table and open the next table. And this one is a big Excel sheet. And it's one block after block is closed. And it goes very linear. Jota uses a tangle network. It's like a tree. It works for very small transactions. And it's very, very useful when it comes to small transactions. So when we have micro payment, 0.000 rupees, for instance, yeah, when you have to pay that small amounts, at the moment in practical life, we don't pay that, yeah. But if you consider a value in a room, a sensor sends some data, and that's a very small amount of money we pay. Maybe it is 0.0001 rupee, that payment. We cannot do that with the existing system because we don't go back to the, Jota can do that. Jota and it's the IoT. But Jota itself is very much criticized. So the blockchain itself, the technology has still some question. MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology criticized the system and others did. So one has to always look at it with the necessary care. I personally worked with Waves blockchain. It's a Russian-based blockchain. Actually, we used the derivative of it and built a so-called new blockchain where we said, let's build a system. It's this zero BS blockchain or zero bullshit blockchain because we wanted a blockchain which makes very much sense and had a feature like compliant by design. We wanted a cryptocurrency created that automatically when you build your cryptocurrency, it complies with the European Union legal system. That was the idea. And the group is still working on that. So compliant by design, that when you build a certain cryptocurrency on that system, automatically you are compliant. The problem startups in blockchain sphere now have, and the same is in India, and I know in India is very strict on cryptocurrencies. You build the currency and then you try to go to the financial authorities and then they say, no, it's not compliant. You cannot do like this. You cannot issue a coin. But some opportunities are, you can issue vouchers, but they have to follow certain rules. And if you build a clever system, and that's also back to your social media question, yeah, there was a question on how to build the intelligent social media. That would be to build a coin based on social media, which automatically complies to national laws. India is a large country. Social media using a blockchain-based system, which is compliant with the Indian law, would very much make sense. Maybe it's not money in the beginning. Maybe it's not a cryptocurrency, but maybe it's kind of a value which is still possible even under the strict legal conditions in India. There is one question. One of the limitations of cryptocurrencies, it is limited numbers, e.g. 21 million coins only. Okay, look, this question is only partly true. There are so-called, with the Waves blockchain, for instance, or with our blockchain we created, you could have unlimited supply of coins. I created just a fun coin. It's not a coin of value, but just to send it out to friends and as a present, a cryptocurrency, a Crypto Robbie. That's my brand, Crypto Robbie cryptocurrency. It's a joke, it's a brand, it's a nice giveaway. It has no value. I don't consider it as a currency. It's completely legal. And I can do as much as I ever want, unlimited. So the limitation is only when you start a new blockchain, you have to decide, will you limit the supply and will you include that in the code, which is in the case of Bitcoins, the case. So just go back, if the others would read the question also. One of the limitations of cryptocurrencies, it is limited numbers, e.g. 21 million Bitcoins only. So I replace this. One of the limitations of gold is that we have a limited number of gold. And the total gold value, you can estimate, do you know how much gold in this world is? It's a cubic 20 meters, 20 meters, 20 meters. It's not 21 million, but it's a 20 meter cubic of gold. So nobody complained that it is a problem for gold to be limited. Nobody thought about it, but the value of gold is because it's a limited supply. If you have only 21 million Bitcoins, and that's written in the code, somebody decided it's 21 million. It could be 42 million. No, but Satoshi Nakamoto decided, okay, we'll do 21 million Bitcoins only. Yeah, finish. For the Bitcoin blockchain. But other blockchains, many blockchains have unlimited supply. It's a pure definition thing. It's not a limitation of a cryptocurrency as such. And as we know, US dollars can be printed as much as they want. Trump can print as long as he wants. Also, the Indian government can print as much rupees as they want. And the euro can be printed also, which is nice. When you have a lot of debts, you print just more money and you pay the debt with that money. The problem is inflation brings the value down. That's the backside of printing unlimited money. So the limit of a certain coin, and that's why I'm also always a fan of Bitcoin, I will always be, is that somebody was very clever and decided, okay, this lab experiment and Bitcoin, let's never forget, Bitcoin is a laboratory experiment. It's a research project. It's never meant to be a coin which is used for daily payment, because still the Bitcoin algorithm needs 10 minutes per block. So if you pay for your coffee or for your tea and your tallies, you have to wait 10 minutes to confirm your action. If you go to the supermarket, it needs 10 minutes to confirm the action, the transaction, yeah, the payment. That does not make sense. So we need payments in milliseconds to be confirmed. Bitcoin is not meant to be a currency for just daily payments at the moment. We have maybe further developments in the future. So I'm confident. I don't know whether Bitcoin will survive. I really don't know. But I think what Bitcoin showed is that Bitcoin itself has never been hacked. Maybe people lost their passwords. They called private keys. They forgot their password. They lost millions. Somebody got stolen and other funds got stolen. Yes, because we were not used to have our bank. We are not used to have a bank account on the mobile phone. We have no security schemes yet. Maybe with two-factor authentication, is up and coming. Yeah, but so cryptocurrencies, that's as a rule, is either limited or not. You can choose that. So it's not a limitation of cryptocurrencies. But I say the limits, nobody complains about the limits of gold and other rare earths. Yeah, it's just increases the value of it. So there is of Akil Ramachandran asked the question, can blockchain be used to prevent future pandemic like COVID-19? No, it cannot. Blockchain is not a medicine. It's not a vaccine. We could even imagine that we have an app which is not used by blockchain. There are now several apps in Europe, in South Korea. They were very early with the apps where you can locate people and you can find hotspots. Still, the problem with the app is described to contain hotspots of virus spreading, COVID-19, is that if a person knows it has COVID-19, just imagine the Indian street, yeah. If a person knows somebody has COVID-19, they will stay at home or in a hospital. So anyway, they will not use the phone. Maybe they would confirm, okay, they will stay at home. If a person does not have COVID-19, the app will not alarm others. So the app would not make so much sense. And if a person does not know they have virus, but still have the app would not even warn me. So you have a false security. If you go around and think, okay, my phone anyway tells me if there's somebody with a virus around, my phone will protect me because this phone knows when I come close to the person with the virus. This is a very unlikely event, as I just explained, because usually the persons who spread the virus, they didn't know about it. We have not virus terrorists who know they have the virus and then they spread it. This is not human. That's very unusual. And this is I think blockchain cannot prevent it. Yeah. How will blockchain useful in pharmaceutical industry? I can tell you, I've worked for the project called Health Bank Switzerland. Health Bank, and there are several others, they collect the data from patients. If you have a rare disease, let's say a very sad incident of liver cancer, sometimes it happens. People have that, it's really quite serious. One can survive it, but many don't. Usually the practice now is the doctors in hospital use the data of the patients, provide it after signature, they convince the patient, but the patient at the end gets nothing like a friendly handshake for the data. And the single data of a patient is valued only $1.29. That's the average value of one data set for one patient. But when you have a combined set of data, the value per patient increases, interestingly. So we have the economies of scale are the other ways around. It doesn't get cheaper with the mass, it gets more expensive. Because if you have 10,000 liver cancer data on how they were treated, how were the results, who survived, which treatment, and who got better, no side effects, this is super valuable information to develop the proper treatment. So the single person even would not get so much money, but if it's a link to another system, then it makes sense. And then we have maybe not a signature in future on a paper, but we have an app, and that patient get a share of this increased value of the amount of money a pharmaceutical industry would pay to an institution collecting all that data. So when we have data interesting aggregated, they increase in value, and that value is not shared to the end customer yet. And that's one of these new business models, which would also have the end user as a player in that system, as an active player getting properly paid for what they offer. And these people anyway are in need of support. So they could use that money very much. And that's a nice return on society solution. What are the areas in IoT can we solve using blockchain? Yeah, IoT is a big topic. I assisted several master theses on IoT. Maybe it would limit now my talk. I would just exclude IoT, but the Internet of Things, what I know is, and I'm cooperating with a South Korean blockchain company. Actually, it's one of these large conglomerates, one of the big 7 companies in Korea, and they are focusing on an IoT-based blockchain proof of stake, and they use it very much for IoT, although they're very much in the automotive business, but they use it for the Internet of Things, that everything, even that ball pen in future, that will have an IP address. And when I write things, it discovers or it creates some value and will have a coin and a value, and creating a value by using it or by refilling it. Even that simple ball pen can be a Internet of Things. It can have an IP address. At the moment it doesn't. But I imagine a world where everything you see and touch, every material will have an IP address. And that makes the value transfer very, very small. That's what I said with this 0.0001 rupees of value sometimes transferred, because we deal with very much solution this problem. So there is Sumat has a question. What are your thoughts on Cardano? Will it be able to overcome the limitations of Ethereum? No, I don't think so. I'm an Ethereum fan. Ethereum has lots of limits. One of these is the terrible way to code it. Yeah, the Solidity programming language, but we will have Ethereum coded in Java, coded in other languages, in Python, probably in C# and in others more convenient languages. Solidity, that's the limitation at the moment. But Cardano is one of many other blockchains, but they never really had the success Ethereum had, and Ethereum is still used by 95% of the startups. So that gives it some strength. And I think what I like with Ethereum is also that with Vitalik Buterin as the ambassador and founder of Ethereum, there is no company behind Ethereum. There is pure love of humanity. It's pure. You know, it's offered to the public. Whereas other blockchains are not offered to the public, but there's a company behind which wants to get rich, and that's sometimes a problem. And that's very much against the idea of the distributed power, distributed wealth, yeah, because Ethereum has also the vision of distribute wealth equally, and that's where I like the philosophy of Ethereum so much. That's why I'm a big fan of Ethereum. Which are the areas where the blockchain, and the next question, Suruthi has a question. Which are the areas where the blockchain technology has already been implemented? The blockchain has been implemented in so-called consortium blockchains. That's kind of, if we compare it to the internet, it's kind of intranet solutions. So it's company solutions within the company. Sometimes the security, the cryptography of blockchain is used. So they use this clever type of hashing. So that's implemented. But for large scale applications, I would say for functioning business models, it's not so much used yet. Besides, if you take Bitcoin as a blockchain solution, which has 250, a market value of 250 billion at the moment. 250 billion, it's something, yeah? It's a lot of money. So 250 million, it's a lot. So it's quite, yeah, 250 million, sorry. And which are the areas where the blockchain technology has already been implemented? It's these small trading platforms with a certain, it's a certain consortium involved. It's not open blockchains. And in smaller applications, it has been used widely already in companies, and that's where it's implemented. And the areas are usually in supply chain. I have, for instance, a solution where when you have a company with just a lot of data and a lot of invoices, yeah, a trading company, what they do, they hash the invoices or hash of hash. They reduce the value. You can use the blockchain technology also to reduce data size. It's like a zip file. It's a very easy function. You zip the files by using blockchain also. You can zip even more. It doesn't reduce only to 1 gigabyte to 1 megabyte. It reduces 1 gigabyte to 1 byte. Yeah, very, very, or 10 bytes, or not even kilobytes. You can hash, you can zip it very, you can shrink data a lot. That's where it is. But it's not the blockchain type we see with these open blockchains. It's a very specific part of the blockchain is used. So the cryptography is used, or this hashing, shrinking quality. Hi Rob, there's a question. Atil Gaffer. Hi Rob, I have read your articles about Facebook Libra, yes, which is usually critical. glad that you took on the myth of Libra being a centralized system. Yes, I was very critical always about Libra. I think it could, but don't you think for an enterprise grade adoption, you need a level of centralization? What is your take on future of the enterprise blockchain and blockchain as a service in post-COVID area? Okay, thanks in advance. Yes, you're welcome. Gafor. Look, I was very critical about Libra because Libra is, if there would be a person like Vitalik Buterin and a team of integrity and honesty behind it and purity, I would love the Libra concept, the Libra, yeah, the Facebook cryptocurrency Libra. With Mark Zuckerberg, which has filed so many lawsuits against his opponents, early founders, and which was accused of collecting data unlawfully, and which is still not fighting fake news as it should be, now giving him the opportunity with his own coin to even collect our financial data, which are now at the banks. I would think that this company, Facebook, does not deserve to get that information. And Libra is not a blockchain, it's not a decentralized coin, but it's this third type of cryptocurrencies I mentioned. It is a currency by a trusted company, trusted institution. And I personally don't trust the Facebook, that they do it for the people. I think they do it to increase the profit and the shares of it. Sorry, I just must close the curtain. We have too much sun here. Yes, and so it is a company-based model where I see the future of enterprise blockchain is prosperous. We will have still a lot of blockchain offering companies, but I must say the usually blockchain as a service now, Alibaba, the largely Chinese trading platform, offers blockchain as a service. A large German, the T-Mobile, it's the largest mobile company in Germany, offers blockchain as a service. So it's not so much room for small startups in the post-COVID area. It will be the big one, like Amazon's cloud service. The next is cloud-based blockchain computing. We will have TEE, so-called TEE, Trusted Execution Environment, based on blockchain algorithms. At the moment, the cloud is thought to be sometimes insecure because of loopholes, backholes. And so, for instance, in Europe, sometimes it's not allowed to put our data on US-based servers because the European legislation sometimes does not allow for that, because the data in the US seem there are rumors that they are leaking sometimes and are not safe. So according to European law, you must put it on European servers with a certain security level. And so we will see blockchain cloud solutions where this security level can be provided. And that's for post-COVID era, especially when we work more over the internet. I mean, even this Zoom conference now, just imagine if I would have a talk about a business deal and maybe we share secrets in that video. How can I make a secure line that is not listened to by, let's say, friendly governments like China, Russia, United States, Iran, to mention other, not to mention, just to name some, and to kind of extend that, yeah. So why isn't the size of the blockchain a serious problem for Bitcoin? The size isn't a problem for Bitcoin because at the moment it has only, I think, 250 gigabyte, which almost, I can save the Bitcoin on my iPhone. The whole Bitcoin blockchain with all transactions involved can be saved on my mobile phone because they have a block size of 1 megabyte at the moment. So that's not a problem at the moment. And others are even smaller. What are the areas blockchain can be used in university? Very good question. I like that. Tarun Tanmai. I was working for the government and we worked very closely with many international universities. And this is a good question. What are the areas blockchain can be used in universities? What are the new use cases that can be used to solve currently faced issues by the universities? Blockchain can be used in the way that you have, for instance, research funding, yeah, that after research projects have certain milestones when there is more use and research papers to validate research papers. At the moment, we have a lot of problems with with citation problems, with copycatting, copying of scientific papers, with peer-reviewed data, sometimes showing weaknesses. So in terms of peer review, you could give the citation index at the moment. Citation index is the international index, and it's like the ranking system of professors. So a good professor has a lot of citations and he's with his researchers, and then he's a high rank. And that could also be reflected by a coin. It could be a value. It could be something which could be shared. It's thinkable. At the moment, it's just an information. Okay, nice to know that his professor has a high reputation. Reputation can be transferred to value. That's where, and there are several projects for university. Probably it's Taruntan Mai. Maybe you can connect. I would love to write an article, blog article on that topic for universities, because there are some very nice blockchain projects. One is science for blockchain for science, I think. Is it? I just look at the shared screen. I hope it's still shared. One is shared. Oh yeah, this is shared screen. Oh, this is shared. Sorry. Oh yeah. So this is shared. It's science for blockchain or blockchain for science. I will later share it with you. I don't know it yet, but I will share it for you later. Can blockchain be hacked? Yes, it can be hacked if it's stupidly coded. If there is a mistake in the coding, then it can be hacked. If it's clever done in the way like very robust, like the Bitcoin blockchain, it cannot be hacked. The Bitcoin blockchain cannot be hacked because you need more energy available on this planet to mine all parallel. So that wouldn't work at the moment. But if it's stupid in a way, there's a lot of stupid solutions which can be hacked easily, and it needs very good blockchain experts, very good coders to identify, to review the code. Every blockchain, if you work on blockchain, needs a review. I've worked with review companies. They're quite with international renommee, because then over that blockchain, a lot of transfer will take place of value. So this must be unhackable, definitely. So with the interest in time, can we take remaining questions off? Yes, of course. We can take, you can always, yeah. What I offer is to you that we can link on on LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn profile, and there I will offer you, if you follow me there, I will send you a contact request, because my profile is not for contact already. But if you follow me now, very soon, if you as a follower, I will send you a contact request. So we will get a direct contact, and then we can always text each other. But there it's the best solution, and you can have additional questions. I can send you some links. First of all, yeah, I would say we come to an end for this session from my side. I would like to thank the Kerala Blockchain Academy for this opportunity.